Samir, thank you for your time today. We wanted to talk a little bit in regards to your upcoming exhibition here at Lily Pad Gallery. Uh,
Eh?
I'm fascinated by your background. You know, you started out you immigrated from Lebanon to Canada, but you also were a telecommunications executive as well as a pioneer, it sounds like. How did you make the transition from telecommunications to art?
There wasn't transition, so it was both in parallel. I was doing both. What happened is I started painting, and I was very young. I did my first oil painting. I was 13 years old, and I used to do watercolor before then at school. So, and I enjoyed that very much. So, then of course, I mean, art wasn't really an objective as such in my life. I see, I had to have a career. So I immigrated to Canada to study engineering because Lebanon, I could not because it was very expensive for the family, and I wanted actually to come to Canada because I had a friend of mine from my the same town where I come from. They immigrated. Said, "Well, if they did it, I will do it too," and I came. So that was in 1973. So it wasn't really that long interruption from art because before I came to Canada, I attended the École des Arts et Métiers de Beyrouth. We call it in French, which is the school or the high school of art and craft in Beirut. So this is a school where you study very well the drawing, very architectural drawing and everything, and the same time you study a career. And I selected the electronics at that time, so I became a technician in electronics in Beirut, and I worked with Kodak Near East Company. The Kodak, you know Kodak.
The Kodak, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I worked there for 2 years, and then I decided to come to Canada to be an engineer because I was a technician, you see. And so I came and I did my engineering at the École Polytechnique de Montréal. Okay, so this is a French name, University of Montreal, the engineering school of it, École Polytechnique. So I did that in 3 years and a half, and I did a master degree in science and digital signal processing, a very very sophisticated name, but all this goes back. I mean, it brings you to computer and telecommunication, and how we do telecommunication with data. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. So that was in '79. I ended that, and I started painting in 1980 again. So. And I launched my career of engineer, and I started painting just for the sake of it. And then I discovered my style in the mid '80s because I studied very well. While I was already a successful engineer and progressing in engineering and did patent and all that, and I was painting at the same time. So. And I was influenced by the Impressionist. For me, presenting nature, for me, this is what I wanted to do. Not abstract, with all my respect to abstract, because abstract is another form of art expressing what's inside. And so the my style and my you see my choosing of the subject matter is to express. How I feel when I actually am in the scene, the beauty of nature. So I always ask myself, we can never render to the nature the beauty that it is. So, but let's try anyway to do things. So this is how it started, and I was influenced by Van Gogh, mostly by Van Gogh and Monet and Pissarro, but I actually developed my own technique of painting. It has nothing to do with what they used to do. It looks like them or from far, but it's not really impressionism. It's post modern impressionism. That's what they call it, modern impressionism, because from really close to the painting, it's all abstract. you have the painting at the gallery, you can see, you come close to them as if you are painting them, and it's actually abstract rendering on the painting. Okay, but when you get from the a little distance, so you see how it comes to you, and all this actually is done by my imagination. So I'm painting, and I'm saying, okay, so I feel actually how that will look from far. Okay, and that was make my work unique actually. Very, and the critics, whether professional or the public, they love that because it's different. Okay,
Mhm.
I actually let a lot of the underlay cover of the canvas appear, and that integrate everything all together. You see,
Yeah.
depending on the scenery, there is a lot of those brown background, I call it, but it's not really brown. It's mixture of color of my own recipe, and I leave the white canvas appear depending on the subject matter. And people call there is bubble of champagne, little white dots. Okay, because I don't cover all. Okay, so. Anyway, so this is how it started, and the subject matter start adding up one after the other. And sorry, I mean, was question that was a question, but there's long answer. So I let you ask me
Right.
another
Because you actually answered a couple of my questions that I had,
question.
and I appreciate it because I'm partially interested in what inspires you in a landscape to want to paint it, and then a little bit about your technique too. I mean, you talk some about it, but if you want to talk more about it.
About there's subject matter or the technique. I start with the technique or
Yeah,
what?
start with the technique.
Well, the technique is as it was actually classified by art critic from France, Pierre Savignac, who is died now. He was an art critic. So he said this is modern impressionism. That's because it's not post-impressionism. It's not really fauve. It's not. There's nothing to do with these, but it's modern impressionism. See, I kind of a little bit kind of reinvented all that, and I'm rendering an impression on the canvas, okay, using my own technique. And I have influenced some artists, you see, in this technique because you don't find this. I don't know if you see there isn't other artists they do that, but they're starting discovering this bit by bit, you see, and it's a very sophisticated stuff, but it's a very simple thing. Sophisticated for somebody who wants to try it because he wouldn't know how to handle it. But me, I've been doing this for 40 years so far, since 85. So how much? More than 40 years, right? 40 years. So I mastered the technique. So it goes like I'm always working with the linen canvas, okay?
Okay.
And so I cover it with a mixture of burnt umber and burnt sienna. Uh, you see a mixture, not very heavy, but you see it's my own way of doing it. So and leaving the white canvas appear from time to time and so on. So once this is done, so and everything is covered, like the border and the back also of the canvas is a little bit touched by that too. So that makes it a very good preparation, very savvy and very professional thing. Uh, then after that, I start painting. Now all my palette is prepared in advance. It's always the same palette. You see, it's like about 32 spot top. I mean, how do you call this cluster of color? You see, like each cluster could be about one tablespoon. Okay, one soup spoon. I would say. You see, how
Yeah.
do the soup spoon? That's what we say. Okay, so a heavy soup spoon. So there is about 32 of those color on the canvas, and actually deposited always in the same fashion. It goes from the ultramarine blue on the top, on the left, down to the white. This is the top row. and the vertical from the ultramarine, then I start with the green on the vertical side of the palette. There is about 5, 6 color of green, ending with a very heavy green.
Oh, okay.
Now, the second row is start with ochre yellow, then a medium ochre yellow that I mixed to make it medium, and then the bright ochre yellow. Okay, and then after that there comes the yellow, soft yellow, and then another yellow, heavy yellow, and then orange, and then red, and then at the end is really the very dark red, which is crimson red. Okay, so this is the second row.
Mm-hmm.
Now on the second row on the left, you see on the vertical one there is other color with the earth. You see like the orange is mixed with burnt umber, and then goes down to the burnt umber. And on the middle there is the very dark color, which is the that I use to it could be, and you see it's normally it's dark green, very dark green, or it could be Prussian blue, or it could be, but mainly is. And then I do also a mixture to make the dark color, which is a black color, but it's not black from the tube. It's my own mixture. And on the bottom there is the earthy color, like the burnt sienna, burnt umber, and natural sienna, natural umber. Okay, and that's it. This is the palette. Okay.
Wow.
And I put this on my, I have kind of built something like, I don't hold it in my hand because it's heavy.
Mm-hmm.
I put it on like a musician stand. You see that I actually configured. And now before then, now the canvas has been prepared with this background color. So I've already selected the subject that I want, and then I take the burnt umber, you see, on another palette, just the burnt umber, which is acrylic. You see, the background is is acrylic because it dries fast. I want to dry fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I draw the subject with the brush. There is no, I'm not doing this with pencil. So just a subject, and the subject is, for me, it's when it's a landscape, is very simple. You see, just position the trunk of the tree and position the lines that define actually the colors, some line, and then I go. You see, and define where is the line that separate the sky from the rest, and so on. Okay. When it's a cityscape, it's more complicated because you have to draw the building, and this is also drawn by the brush very directly. And I don't really, when I paint landscape, my landscape are not very straight. You see, I do it on purpose like that because I don't want I want it to be living. You see what I mean? It's like Van Gogh when he did that. He did it right away. You see, the church at art, it's all awkward. You see, there is no straight line, and it's like dancing. Okay, it's like, this is what I do. I mean, I don't want it to be still, kind of crispy and structured. So I wanted actually to move. So that's what I do. And then I paint, and it's one sitting all the time. It's not really, I don't spend the days on the painting. See, it's one sitting. It's like I'm a musician who mastered how to play the music to the perfection, and I'm playing the piece of music on the canvas. It's like a Mozart. It's like a musician who mastered Mozart, playing for 40 years, and then he sit down on the piano and he play the piece of music that lasts 15 minutes to the perfection. But he spent 40 years of his life,
Yes.
okay, working how to play it. Okay, it's exactly the same process. Okay,
Right.
so when people ask me how long it takes you to do a painting, I say 40 years of experience, plus some time to prepare the canvas, prepare the palette, and think about the subject. Sometimes it can take me 2 years to think about the subject. It's not really
Wow.
very obvious. You see, sometime you see, and I do have kind of a different series of for the landscape, different series of painting. Like you take the wheat field as a series of wheat field. You take the Lavande de Soleil as a series. You take the Olive Grove. This is a series of Olive Grove in the summer and the spring. The sea scene is another series. Cityscape in the winter time, snow falling on it. Cityscape in summertime, and so on. So willow trees, and you look to, and the autumn scene. Autumn scene is the Walking with Giants series. This is a very important actually benchmark of my art. So when you go to my website, that's what's appeared, Walking with Giants. And the name came. I talk too much, but it's interesting. The name came from Victor Bennett Forbes. He is the chief editor, owner of Fine Art Magazine in New York, and he came to Montreal in '97 and '98, and he wanted to write an article on me at that time, and he came with the title "Walking with Giant," and he took actually the painting that I will show you here. Can you see?
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous.
That was okay. So and he said, Samir, I mean, for me, these are trees, a giant tree, but the title, I want to convey that you are walking with those giants of art. You see any of them, you are with them. You see, that's what he said.
Yes.
Okay.
You're giant. Yes.
That's what he wanted to say. So the article is wonderful. You can actually fetch it on the internet. It's in my book. Okay, so that's for the technique. And then there is a French critic, Pierre Savignac, who actually wrote about 40 pages on all my technique, how I do and I prepare and all this. Very nice. He said, I mean, you are unique really in my style, and I surpassed some of those big names in his mind. Okay, so this is what he said. So
yeah,
I wouldn't say this about myself, but what others say, I accept. So now for the subject matter, I just talked about that too. The subject matter is really it's always where I live. Okay. I don't paint something that I didn't visit myself. And every painting I do, it represents a scene that I just step in front of it, the sketches, talk photo, and then I work in my studio. You understand? The photo for me is just reminding me the scene, the sensation of the scene, and what was the atmosphere. So, and then I paint. All right. So I have to run to the bank.
No, this has been really helpful. We're really looking forward to seeing you, Samir. When you
Okay, is there another question? Is there something else?
No, it's just a statement to say we're very happy to see you and looking forward to seeing you here at Lily Pad.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Bye, Julia.
All right, take care.